Hey, coming up on This Week in Radio Tech. First of all, Merry Christmas. Hope you're having a great Christmas day. Our guest this week is Larry Wilkins. Larry from Alabama. And I tell you what, I hope I have Larry's energy when I'm his age. And I have no idea how old he is. I just know he's older than me. Larry, he wears three hats, and he's going to tell us about those three different jobs, those three hats that he has carried well into retirement. And he's doing people like you and me a big favor, and those coming up behind us in broadcast engineering. So stick around. Larry Wilkins is next on TWiRT.
This Week in Radio Tech is brought to you by Broadcasters General Store with outstanding service, savings, and support. Online at bgs.cc. By Broadcast Bionics with the Bionic Studio, including talk show control, social media, and visual radio. Broadcast Bionics brings exceptional audience engagement to radio and TV. By Air, featuring Playout One radio automation software, comprehensive streaming solutions, website content management, and social media tools for maximum listener engagement on the web at AIIR.com. By Angry Audio. Audio problems disappear when you get angry at angryaudio.com. And by Max Connect Wireless, prioritized high-speed internet service designed for transmitter sites and remote broadcasts.
Hey, welcome into This Week in Radio Tech, the show where we talk about everything from the microphone. Ooh, that's invisible. There it is. From the microphone, it's going to go invisible again. Look at that. To the light bulb at the top of the tower, right behind me over there. Hi there, I'm Kirk Harnack. Welcome to this Christmas Day edition of This Week in Radio Tech. And I'm delighted that you're here. It's Christmas Day. Hope you're spending time with family or friends. And hey, if you're alone, please know that we're thinking of you, and you're important and you matter. And I really mean that. I've spent Christmas alone a couple times, and I know how tough it can be. But we're glad that you've joined us. And I've got a guest with us today that's just amazing. By the way, I'll just go ahead and get it out. This background behind me, usually it's real, but today it's fake. That's my office in Nashville, Tennessee. But I am coming to you from Pontevedra, Spain. So I've been hearing the Spanish language all around me here for several days. For about a week I've been here. Going to be here for about 3 more weeks. But I'm delighted to be here. It's 11 p.m. for me. But the good news is for our guest, Larry Wilkins, it is 4 o'clock plus a few minutes in the afternoon. Larry, welcome.
Hey.
It's great to see you. How are you on this
Thank you
Christmas
very much.
Day?
Thank you very much. My producer's here, and he just want to say hello too. So I want to let him slip off to the side here.
Wait, is that the guy that you go to spend you go to make him climb the tower when something's wrong?
No, he has something, with his equilibrium, and he's afraid he's going to fall off and drop all his pomegranates or whatever.
Gosh. Oh my gosh. Did you ever play that Elf on the Shelf game with your kids?
Oh yeah.
Really?
A lot of fun.
I didn't, for some reason I thought that was a newfangled game, but your kids have been growing out of the house for a while, haven't they?
Oh yeah. That's I've forgotten their names. I don't. I have to look it up on my phone. When I call them, I say, "Now, which one are you?"
Hey, friends, neighbors, countrymen, engineers, I got to tell you, you're in for a fun show. Larry Wilkins, I saved this interview with Larry for December 25th, and here he is, and we're going to have a good time. He's going to make you think, and he's going to make you laugh. Larry, give us a little elevator speech about who you are for those who don't know.
Well, you just told everybody who I was. Yeah, I'm Larry Wilkins, and I'm work with the Alabama Broadcasters Association here in the state. And I do a number of things. And as we talked to, as Kirk and I talked off camera about it, I wear a lot of hats. I don't wear this one, when I'm working, especially when I inspect radio and TV stations, it'll throw me out. But that's what I'm working with them now, doing ABIP inspections and doing, handling all the EAS activities. And as a lot of people know, we have an engineering academy where we teach, it's a 5-day course, where we teach radio and television engineers, both for those just getting into the business and also for senior engineers. It's amazing. When we started, we get a lot of people that's been in the business for 20 years. and they come in to get a refresher course and to learn about the new technology. So that's normally what I do. I do the classes, I handle inspections, and the EAS activities.
It sounds to me like the Alabama Broadcasters Association is very active in terms not only of the usual things that state associations do, which is assist with general management, with employment issues and standards, with programming a little bit. But you guys are very involved in engineering and trying to take care of engineers in terms of both taking care of existing engineers and educating existing and new engineers. Is that right?
That's exactly right. Of course, engineering, all the departments are important, from managerial to sales to programming and the technical side. And you can't separate them. They all have to work together, and everybody does the job they're supposed to do, or else you don't have the programming will suffer. So one of the things that we do with the ABA is we put a lot of emphasis, as you said, on keeping engineers, primarily keep engineers up to date on new technologies and on new issues coming out from Washington, from the FCC, and looking after filing deadlines and stuff like that. So we put a high value on the technical people and operations through the state, and trying to help them keep their system up like it's supposed to be. Because we all know that right now there are so many avenues somebody can listen to or view programming with all the digital platforms and all. And if you don't keep your programming, the audio or the video, up to a top quality, it's too easy for people to switch over and watch it on somewhere or listen to it in somewhere else. And you know as well as I do, if a listener or a viewer switches off to another platform, it takes a while to get them back. So our sort of the saying that I always use, quality always wins over quantity. So this is what we try to do is to help engineers keep their station operating at top quality.
I hear you. So Larry, we've coming up on the show. The name of the show is I Wear Three Hats, and that's what we're going to be talking about, in and amongst a little bit of holiday and Christmas festivity and fun. So our show with Larry Wilkins, the bulk of it's coming right up. Our show this week in Radio Tech is brought to you in part by our friends at AIR, AIIR.com. And if you haven't heard of AIR, they are your new friend to help you make your radio station sound better and look better online too. They're the makers of the Playout One automation system. I'm a very proud user of that. 21 radio stations using Playout One. But I talked to Ricky Lee, and they have introduced a streaming service that works really well. It's just no nonsense. It works well. So here's Ricky Lee to talk.
Hey, it's Kirk Harnack, and I'm here with Ricky Lee, the CEO of AIR. Ricky, you guys make a fantastic automation system, but streaming is a really big deal. Tell me about streaming with AIR.
It really is. We've got a beautiful streaming platform with an incredible dashboard with fantastic analytics. And you can buy it for just $20 a month. All you can eat. No limits on bandwidth or bit rates. And you can also record shows as well. So if you like to deliver on-demand content for $20 a month, you can stream and deliver that on-demand content to an RSS feed that can feed your radio player, your mobile apps, or a podcast that people can download and enjoy.
Now, $20 a month, that must be for just some slow MP3, right?
No, MP3, AAC, and we also now support HLS, which is big in the industry right now.
Wow, that's pretty amazing. How do I start to explore or find out more about streaming through AIR?
You go to air.com, AIIR.com/streaming, and from there, with a credit card, you can sign up and get started.
Awesome. Thanks a lot, Ricky Lee with air.com, AIIR, because it's, the internet, and you're going to enjoy their products. Check them out on their website, tellsall, AIIR.com. It's Kirk Harnack. Merry Christmas to you, however you celebrate. And Larry Wilkins is here with me. He is the Director of Engineering at is that your title? Director of Engineering?
Director of Engineering Services,
There
I
you
guess
go.
is the technical name.
Well, good. All right, we've got three hats to talk about. ABIP, we'll talk about that in a few minutes. Also, SECC, I'd like to hear about that. But first, the Engineering Academy. You talked about that for a moment a few minutes ago before the ad, and I've been to something with your Engineering Academy. I didn't realize it was 5 days. I think seems like I've been there for a couple of days. So tell me about the Engineering Academy and who it's open to and what people get out of it.
Well, the academy came about sort of in sort of a weird way. We were having a board meeting one day, and one of the board of directors for one of the general managers, rather, of a major television stations up in the north part of the state asked me or brought up the subject, said, where is there somewhere we can go and recruit engineers? There's a lot of engineers retiring out of the business, and we got to find some more engineers. And they looked at me, and I said, well, not like there used to be. There used to be a lot of technical colleges around, but there's not that many anymore. He said, well, the colleges, most all the colleges have a broadcasting class. I said, well, yeah, but they're normally news writing and camera operating and how to stand before a green screen and give the weather. I said, they don't really cover the technical side of broadcasting. And the question was, oh, well, can we start our own? And I said, what is this we stuff? You're staring at me. I said, yeah, we could probably do that. I said, let's give some thought. So we did. We talked about it. And I was, at that time, and still am, on the SPE certification committee. And I brought that up at a committee meeting and told them what we would like to do in Alabama. And the committee was all for it. And they said, as long as you don't teach the test. I said, we're not teaching the class, the actual test, the questions, we're teaching the subjects. So we started the academy 12 years ago, believe it or not. I was putting together some stuff for next year, and it dawned on me. I said, wow, we've been doing this for 12 years. And like you say, it's 5 days. Now we know, obviously, and everybody knows, there's no way I could make a chief engineer out of somebody in 5 days. That's a pipe dream, and that's not really our plan. Our plan is that somebody that's new, that's just getting into the business or looking to get into the business, our plan is to give them enough background, overview of the technical operation of a radio or a television station so that they can go in and work under a chief and be real helpful and not be swiped by some of the terminology that he or she may impart to him. So we actually had a real quick story. We actually had a lady that came in and took the television class, and she was from Alaska. That brings up another thing we'll talk about. It's open to anybody, but she was from Alaska. She flew in and took the television class. A few months after the class, she emailed me and said, I got a job at a television station. I'm a master control operator. And she said, the amazing thing about it, when I was interviewing for the job and the engineer was walking me through and showing me different things, just about everything he talked about, it dawned on me, oh, we talked about that in the class down in Alabama. So it's one of those things, that you don't go in blindsided. So we hope we can offer enough information about radio and television to people that they have a basic understanding. The other great thing about it that the managers of radio stations sort of like, we find that they have a lot of the station will have people already on staff, maybe an operations manager or a DJ or somebody like that has some interest in the technical side, but they just need a little training. They can come to our academy and get some more training on it, and then they can go back to their local station. He doesn't have to hire anybody else. He can bring them in, and they can do small jobs and help fill in case the station doesn't have a full-time engineer. If their contract guy's 3 hours away working for somebody else, then he or she can actually do some minor repairs or emergency repairs, to get the station back on the air. So that's sort of what the academy is all about. We actually do 2 classes. We do one for radio and then another week for television. And typically we do those twice a year. In the spring and in the fall, we'll offer both radio and television. Matter of fact, we have a radio class coming up the latter part of February, and we already got people signing up for it. And it's open to anybody, anywhere they want to come from. We've had them from Canada, we've had them from Alaska, and New York, California, all different places. So it's open for anybody. And here's the clincher, Kirk.
Mm-hmm.
There's no charge for it. There's actually no charge at all. It's underwritten by the Alabama Broadcasters Association,
Mm-hmm.
and we have vendors that underwrite it. There are some costs involved in putting it on, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
We create our own workbook and study guide. There was no study guide. And so I wrote the study guide, and the first one I did was about this thick. Well, now it's in 1.5 inch binder.
Oh, wow.
And my wife, Kathy, bless her heart, she worked so hard helping me put those together. We'll go up to the ABA several weeks before the class, and she does all the printing. She runs herself to death back and forth from the printer, putting these notebooks together and getting all the sections. And those are free. We give them to the people. They make notes on them during the class. They're theirs to keep, and they can take them back. And then if they take the test, which is something we offer on Friday, we offer the opportunity for them to take the Society of Broadcast Engineers Certified Broadcast Technologist exam, which is the entry level to the certification. And it's open book. So they've got the study guide that we've had all week. They've had all week, so they can go and look at that. So we've had a lot of people come through there. And as I said at the beginning, it was initially designed for those just getting into the business, but we begin to get a lot of seasoned people in because we do cover the latest in technology, HD radio, streaming, and television, 8 VSB and now ATSC3. And we just started offering information about SMPTE 2110. And I'm telling you, that keeps me on my toes because I got to research all this stuff and figure it out, ahead of time. But a lot of the older seasoned engineers will come in for that technology. And so I mentioned to one of them one time during a break, I said, I may cut back a little bit on the basic electronics. We do basic electronics on Monday, Ohm's law, how the atom works and that whole bit. And I said, we take up a lot of time talking about basic electronics. And I said, I'm thinking about cutting back on that. And they all said, oh, no, don't do that. Because I had forgotten all that. I came to the class and it dawned on me, oh, yeah, current flows from negative to positive. I forgot that. So we continue to be basic electronics.
It's important to at least have some idea of Ohm's law and how to figure watts, from the voltage, current, and efficiency. So you at least have an idea. Hey, if I'm at the transmitter side, it's cold in here. I need to plug a space heater in. Can I plug it into this outlet? And it's going to, because you don't want to have it come on and off and then have it trip a breaker and it takes the rack down off the air, right? So you want a basic understanding of electricity.
Well, but I've always been a believer that if you don't get the basics, and this is true in any occupation, not just broadcasting, but if you don't learn the basics, then when you get into the more complicated things, transmitters and antennas and all that kind of stuff, a lot of it will go right over your head because you don't. There'll always be a gray area. I remember when I first got into the business, and that was some years ago, at a little AM station down in Enterprise, Alabama. The contract engineer was a retired colonel, and he saw I was a DJ, believe it or not. You couldn't tell it by the way I talk today, but I was a DJ, and but I was interested in the technical side, and I used to follow him around and ask him questions. And he told me when I graduated from high school, I started when I was a junior, and not in high school, but working at the station. He told me, he said, you need to go somewhere and get some electronic experience, training. He said, because once you do, you can go and work on a refrigerator or an AM transmitter because current flows the same way in both of them. And that stuck with me.
Yeah, that's good. Good point. So let me, so for this engineering academy, let me just kind of help summarize this so that people have it in their mind. Let me just ask you a few questions with yes or no or quick answers. It is open to people even outside of Alabama, right?
That is correct. Anywhere from anywhere.
It is in person, or is there an online version available?
It's in person. We had talked about doing it online, but it's you get so much more out of it. With the right there, and you can answer questions back and forth. It just works better that way.
So the tuition is free, but you take care of your own expense getting to where Birmingham, or where?
Yes,
is it
it's in Birmingham.
Okay,
and we have about 5 or 6 hotels that have discount rates. If you're attending the academy, you can get discounted rates for rooms as well.
Do you hold this at the ABA headquarters?
We do.
Okay. What
they did was the building used to have a big storage facility as part of the building. When we started to do that, they subdivided it and made one half of it the classroom. It's got a workbench with test equipment and all this kind of stuff on the workbench, and we can seat comfortably 25. But I like to have 10 to 15. That way you can do one-on-one stuff a lot better. So we like to keep the attendance around that.
Do you teach any of the classes yourself?
Yes. Well, sort of. I do the first couple of days at basic electronics and audio. And then I have another local engineer, who's Frank Jardina, who I think you know Frank.
I do. I know Frank.
He comes in on Wednesday and covers RF, AM, and FM. Antennas and transmission lines and all that kind of stuff. And from time to time, we have guest people come in to do particular subjects like IT, IT for broadcasting and all. So, but most of it is me. But I have other people that come in and do some of the subjects.
I think I may have spoken their audio over IP or something, but I recall being in your classroom, seeing this big binder. I thought, what a worthwhile topic this was. And you were just wrapping up your last day when I was there, and I had a very serious question about the emergency alert system. And it was an unusual question, and I got several good answers, one of which turned out to be the way that it worked out. Not that any of the answers were bad. They were all really good, informed answers. Give me several leads, several paths, several approaches to solve the problem, and I got it solved pretty readily. So thanks to the smart people who were in your classes.
The way that the week goes, Monday is basic electronics. We cover all the way through that. And then Tuesday is all audio, both analog and digital. With the morning part of the day, we talk about audio and analog. And then in the afternoon, we go into digital. One of the things about digital we try to stress is that sometimes engineers, not all engineers, but some engineers, they forget and they don't learn how to look under the hood and understand how digital works. And it's not that difficult, but if you don't really know how, sample rate and bit depth and aliasing and all the other acronyms that go along with digital, if you don't understand that, then you're not going to make it work right. Clip rates and all. I mean, it's amazing. So we do that on Tuesday. In radio, the Wednesday obviously is all about radio with RF, both AM and FM, and antennas. We've got some antennas there we show. We talk about FM antennas and AM antennas. Thursday is station operation, where we cover, as you were talking about, EAS and the FCC. We go over the FCC and what's required by the engineer to maintain the station relative to the FCC rules and regulations. And then Friday is reserved for those that wish to take the SBE exam.
Gotcha. Okay. So if people want to, let me get the camera back on here. If people want to register for this, find out more about it, where are they going to go to look for that?
They just go to the ABA website, which is just al-ba.com, and there's an engineering tab. And if you click on that engineering tab, you'll see registration right there, and it gives you in depth of what we do each day. And then it also has a listing of all the hotels and the rates of the hotels and a registration there for all the ones. And we've just updated it. Our web guru just updated it a couple of weeks ago with the new dates for the classes for 2026. So it's there on the ABA website.
And I see that February 23rd through February 27th is your next one for radio engineering.
That's correct.
And similar dates in March 23, 27, specifically for television engineering.
That's correct.
And then you repeat the whole thing in the fall, in September, and in October.
Right.
Okay. Good deal. We'll put those links in the show notes for the Alabama Broadcasters Association Engineering Academy. Very worthwhile. I was just there for a few hours one day as an invitee, and I got my questions answered. So, there's smart people there, and it's a worthwhile, you'd call it a hands-on environment, wouldn't you?
Oh, it is, because one of the great things, and we do a monthly webinar ourselves called the, for lack of a better word, ABA Engineering webinar. And we had the SB president, Kevin Trueblood, on with us last week. And he was talking about that one of the big advantages is networking with other engineers. Well, you get 10 or 15 engineers in that classroom, and somebody will bring up a question, and one of the other class members will say, yeah, we had that same problem. And this is what we did. And so the networking among the engineers that are there at the class is well worth attending.
Gotcha. Good deal. Good deal. All right. Well, you've answered my questions on that topic, and we're going to let me put us back on here. Hey, let me show you some magic here before we take our next break here. Oh, look at that. Does that put you in the holiday mood?
And I'll get my little joyous here. This is really, it's orange juice.
Is that Santa's happy juice?
Yeah, that's right. See, he told me no drinking while I'm on the air. So
that's right. Santa's happy juice. All right, let me take that off. All right. Hey, we're talking to Larry Wilkins. He is the director of technical services for the engineering services for the Alabama Broadcasters. And Larry wears three hats. We've just been talking about one of them, but we have two more topics to go. We're trying to, number one, have some fun. Number two, learn a few things on this Christmas Day edition of This Week in Radio Tech. Larry, I'm going to put myself on full screen here, and I'm going to tell you that we're going to hear about our friends from Broadcast Bionics, and we'll be right back.
Hey, our show is brought to you in part by Broadcast Bionics and a product that's called Virtual Rack. Now, you've heard me talk about it, or maybe you haven't. Virtual Rack solves some really interesting problems. You can deploy containerized products without being a Linux expert. Now, first of all, what's containerized products? So much broadcast equipment these days is software. And for some years, we had to design the software and we had to design the hardware that it ran in. We wouldn't design the CPU, of course. We wouldn't design the RAM, but we would have to design the peripherals, the ins and outs, and the touchscreen on the front, or the knobs, or the buttons. We have to design all that. Well, now we can take that software or similar that does the same thing and put it into a very efficient compute container. It's called containerized software. You've heard of Docker containers. This is essentially that. And that means that these run really efficiently on standard off-the-shelf compute server hardware. So deploying containers, that can be pretty tricky. That is not something that a lot of people know how to do, especially when you get into complex networking and audio over IP within the Linux environment. So, for some people, it's been very difficult, but
the folks at Broadcast Bionics have solved that problem. What you get when you get a virtual rack is you get a purpose-built appliance. You get the virtual rack management software, which is what you look at. You don't have to deal with Linux commands, command line stuff. You just open up the management software, and there's an application library. You choose the things you want. Do you want an audio console? Do you want 2 audio consoles? Do you want an FM audio processor? Do you want a phone system, a broadcast phone system? Do you want mic processing? Do you want something like a stream encoding for infrastructure purposes? All that's available from different companies like Ferncast and Sound 4, Telos Alliance, of course, and 2WCOM. You choose the application that you want. You click a button to install it. And I've seen this happen. I mean, in under 2 minutes, the application is installed. The container is up and running. It's ready for you to license from its respective manufacturer. And it's got the IP addresses that you need it to have, so you can deal with it. Audio over IP in and out, management in and out, controls in and out. And hey, if you want to do things like have automatic failover, you can do that too. So this is absolutely a brilliant idea. And it's really got the blessing of, for example, my colleagues at Telos Alliance. Our engineers took a look at how Broadcast Bionics makes this easy to do, and we're in total agreement. Love it. It's a great product. The server, the virtual rack servers come in a couple different sizes. So if you need a big one to run a whole lot of stuff, you can. You want a smaller one, it costs less. Check it out from your favorite Broadcast Bionics dealer. Of course, you can go to bionics.co.uk and look for virtual rack. Bionics.co.uk. This so much is going to containerize software, and Bionics makes it easy for people like you and me, maybe especially me, to make this work. If you go to their website, there are some videos you can see on screen right now at the Virtual Rack webpage that will tell you all about that. Dan McQuillan has been on our program to explain how this works. Check it out from Broadcast Bionics. This is where the industry is headed, I promise you. And the sooner you get involved with it, the better. You're going to save money in the long run, too. Check it out from bionics.co.uk. Thanks for sponsoring This Week in Radio Tech.
We're back. It's Christmas Day. Kirk Harnack here, and glad that you've joined us. Whether you join us actually on Christmas Day or a few days later, we do this show This Week in Radio Tech. We try to do it once a week and bring you lots of good engineering information. Always reliable for quality information and fun and some lightheartedness in the broadcast engineering world is Larry Wilkins. And Larry has a helper with him today.
Yeah, his name is Earl.
Earl. Okay.
That's what he said. He said, my name's Earl. So
Earl the elf on the shelf.
Right.
Oh, well, all right. Let's see. Well, hey, and Larry, if I forget to say it, Merry Christmas to you and Kathy.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much. Merry Christmas to you too.
Is Kathy still doing some knitting and making some interesting products?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, she's in the other room now. We had a big sale the other day. Somebody came in and bought a whole bunch of stuff, and she makes tissue box covers out of plastic canvas, right. And we had because of all the ball games going on, we sold like 3 Alabamas and 3 Auburns and some other stuff. So she's trying to catch back up. So
all right, with Alabama and Auburn, can you tell me who you root for?
Well, I'll have to say Auburn because I worked for them for many years and they paid my check. Somebody asked me one day, was I an Auburn fan? I said, well, I guess if Troy State signed my check, I'd root for them. But I actually did, as you know, I did the on-site engineering for Auburn University Radio Network for a number of years.
Yeah.
And so I guess I pull for them.
You know, maybe I'm kind of the odd man out, but I've never just been a big sports fan. But I tell you what I am a fan of and I've mentioned this before on the show, I'm a fan of my friends and their love of sports. So if I'm hanging out with somebody and they're rooting for Alabama, for the Crimson Tide, hey, I'm an Alabama fan that day. I tell you, about half my buddies at church, they are fans of Ole Miss. A couple of LSU fans, a couple of Mississippi State fans, but I enjoy sports through my friends who really enjoy sports.
My wife was born in Baton Rouge, so she's an LSU fan.
She's an LSU fan, right?
That's right.
Yeah. And I live in Nashville, so I should be a Vanderbilt fan, and they've had a good year.
They really have. They've done really well.
I follow it just enough so I can make a comment like that. And that's about it.
The funny thing about working a game as an A1, well, when you're radio, you're an A1, A2, A3. You're everything,
Everything,
You're by yourself.
You're the A.
Yeah. When the game is over, half the time I don't know who won, because I was so busy, with what I was doing, mixing. We had somebody came in one day and we had a relatively small board. It was a 16 channel Yamaha, and they said, "Why in the world do you need 16 channels for just a radio broadcast of a football game?" I said, "Well, I'm out. I really need some more inputs." I mean, you eat them up in a hurry. You don't. I tell people when they're buying consoles, they say, "We're going to get a 24." I said, "No, get a 32, because the day after you buy the console and you put it in, you'll be out."
Well, okay, so educate me. Obviously you've got people in the booth,
right,
play-by-play, what they call the color man. And then
you got the play-by-play and the analyst in the booth. You got a sideline guy. You got a ref feed. You got crowd mics. We always get feeds from the TWiRT. We get effects feeds from them. We get feeds from the PA. We get feeds from the locker room for the post-game show. We got returns coming back from the studio, and then local insertion things there at the stadium. But we have several feeds coming from the truck. We pick up different feeds from them, so you can run out in a real hurry.
So from the TV truck, might you have an isolated effects feed, of grunts?
Yes.
From.
Well,
okay.
Yeah, I would always get an effects feed, and if I was nice to the guy, and I could ask him that, can I only get the parabs, the sideline parabs? I don't really need their cheerleader or the band.
Right.
That doesn't make any sense on radio. If I can get just the parabs, I'm happy. So usually they will. They'll give you, because again, that was one of those things where I wore many hats. I was also the frequency coordinator. And so I would work with their RF people and make sure everything was working okay. So it gave me a little insight. I could go inside the truck, without being thrown out.
And I don't mean to be rude here, but is there any antidote for the announcer, the main announcer, who insists on sounding exactly like every other football and radio announcer? Well, take a time out now on the Southern Miss Football Network.
Oh, yeah. See, when you're talking to him before the game starts or when a break, he's in one voice, and then it's like a switch. When he comes back on, it's a different. I say, "Who is that on the mic?" Oh, I say, "Who it is now?"
Do they go to school for that, or is it just a natural affectation?
That happens in the radio station too. They have this, what we used to call Joe radio voice. And they would put that on, and while you were sitting around eating a donut, we had a guy that lived in a little town called Geneva. They had one blinking caution light. And he was his dad was a farmer and all. I'm not downgrading anybody, but he had that farmer voice. But when he opened the mic, he had a Joe radio voice. It just comes natural. Me, I have a downtown. See, I always tell people, I was born and raised in LA. That's Lower Alabama for those folks that don't really know. So I have a Lower Alabama voice, and it doesn't change. I sound the same. I'm sorry.
back when I was a teenager, growing up in central Kentucky, I got used to at least a little bit of this affectation from a announcer named Ralph Hacker. Now, Ralph, he was on the UK network, football and basketball. And the nice thing about Ralph, he did have this affected voice, but it was really highbrow. It was Kentucky highbrow. And we would always call Ralph Hacker the best dressed announcer on the radio. He would always end, go into commercials with, "This is Ralph Hacker on the UK Football Network."
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
He was, oh my goodness. Well, listen, I'm sorry for that sideline into announcers and their voices. We're going to talk for a few minutes about the something that you call the ABIP, but I know there are a few members of our audience that may not know what that stands for. So help us out here. What is ABIP?
That's an acrostic, and that's a new word I've learned, and I learned to use that word because it rolls off your tongue. Acrostic. That's my radio voice. Acrostic. It stands for the Alternative Broadcast Inspection Program. And a number of years ago, the FCC and I believe it was the Missouri Broadcasters Association did a trial run in having an engineer, an approved engineer by the FCC, to go and do an alternative inspection at a radio station. And they do the inspection with the checklist that the commission uses. And the only difference in me as an ABIP inspector and the FCC coming in and do the inspection, and this is our little inside joke we always say, if the FCC comes in and inspects your station and finds an issue, he brings with him a receipt book, and it's stamped, "Thank you for your volunteer contribution to the U.S. Treasury." Well, I don't have a receipt book. I just come in, and if I find issues that need to be addressed, I just write up a report and leave it with the engineer and manager to have them correct their problems. In other words, we look at it, or I look at it, as an educational tool for the radio or television station. We're not there to slap their wrist, and I've never been one that likes to step on anybody's toes. If they're doing something that's not right, I'll talk to them about them and say, "Well, I see how you're doing this, but this is the way the commission rules are stated, and it needs to be done this way." And I never just say, "Well, what an idiot," and I may be thinking that in my head, but I never do that because I don't want to step on anybody's toes. So the inspection program is where a station can sign up with their state association, and they will send an engineer who has been approved by the commission field office to come in and do a full inspection. Both it covers everything: the public file and EAS and the technical information, especially the transmitter. And once, if you pass, you don't have any issues, you're issued a certificate of compliance, which is normally good for like 3 years. And if there are some issues, then we'll just leave a report and go over it before you leave. I go over it with them and show them, well, this, and this, you need to address these issues. And then when you get them corrected, just send me information that you corrected. And sometimes I'll ask to see maybe a picture or something. Like in particular, I did one time where the antenna current meter at the AM tower was broken. It's out of order. And I said, well, when you put the new one in, send me a picture of it reading the correct current, and that's okay. And he did, and he was fine. So that's what the Alternative Broadcast Inspection Program is. And it's nationwide. Every state has an ABIP program that's administered by the state association, and all the station has to do is to call or contact their state association and get signed up to do it.
Okay. All right. And this, what's the cost, or is there a cost for stations to receive this kind of inspection that itself doesn't carry any violations, or monetary forfeiture? What's the cost for a station?
It varies by state. Alabama, I don't know if we were the first state to do it, but there is no cost. It's if you are a member of the Alabama Broadcast Association, as a service of the membership, you get the inspection free. Now they do have to pay travel expenses for the engineer to come to your station to do it, but the actual inspection, there's no cost if you're a current member. The president of the ABA felt that was a good service to offer member stations. As a matter of fact, the membership dues were actually cheaper than what it would cost to pay an engineer to come in and do the inspection.
Gotcha.
Now, other states do charge, and it's one price for, it'll be a certain right, or just to throw a number out, it may be like $400 for the first station. If you've got additional stations in the same market, it's typically one half that cost.
Yeah.
And so $400 for the first one and $200 for each additional, but it varies around the country.
Gotcha. And it's not exactly a get out of jail free, but it helps with a little maybe inoculation.
At one time, and I'm not sure where this stands right now, but at one time the FCC did have a situation where if you went through an ABIP inspection and got a signed certificate, then they would not visit your station on a surprise visit for 3 years.
Right. Yeah.
And they still had the right to go by if somebody complained about your operation or some safety violation, that your tower lights have been off for 2 months, stuff that way. But they wouldn't just randomly. They used to do that. They would just randomly knock on the door, and you'd open the door and they'd show them the badge, and everybody would pass out there in the lobby. Oh, the FCC's here. So, but I think they still sort of honor that because I send information to the Atlanta office on who has passed over a certain number of months, and so they know that they don't have to visit them because they've been inspected. So it's really being proactive, which in this day and age, well, all the time, an engineer needs to learn how to be proactive and not reactive. And so this is being proactive, finding things that, and I'll tell you, I'll be honest with you, Kurt, I've been doing this for probably like 11 or 12 years, or maybe 13 now. And I don't think I have ever found an issue at a station that somebody was doing on purpose. It was either they forgot, or they didn't know they were supposed to be doing it that way, or they were doing it, but they were doing it the wrong way. And so this is just a way to help stations. There's so much going on at the station, it's easy to forget stuff and maybe not do things the way they're supposed to be just because you overlooked it.
Yeah, and I would think overlooking would be easy. Hey, these days, and it's been true for so long, that we're trying to pay the bills. We're trying to make sure that the Saturday evening shift is covered. That there's somebody going to come in and run the ball game, or that hey, we've got more Christmas packages to sell, and we haven't met our sales goal yet. There's things that a manager and an owner has to worry about, and engineering compliance isn't always the top of the list.
Well, one of the, and I'll mention this. I'll not mention any stations, but I see this a lot. It's the public file. That's a real biggie for the commission, and it used to be that the public file, where stations keep all their records of ownership and applications and license renewals and political and all that kind of stuff, used to be done in paper form and kept in a file folder at the station. Back in 2012, the commission developed an online version, which is really nice. They did a really nice job on the software for it. But what happens is somebody that's actually keeping it up and uploading the stuff regularly, like it's supposed to be done, maybe they leave. They go go work at Walmart or somewhere else, or they just decide they don't want to do it anymore and they leave. And managerial sometimes forget that when he hires somebody to replace her, to tell them about the public file. Well, 2 months goes down the road, and all of a sudden it dawns on the manager, oh, wow, nobody's looking after the public file. So then they got to go through this training thing to figure out what to do. So, and that's a real biggie of public file, is to make sure that thing is kept up, because in the old days when it was a paper form, who knows if you put the issues and programs in there by the 10th of the following month of the end of the quarter. It has to go in there every quarter. You may have been, a half a year late putting it in there, but who would know in paper? But now when you upload it to that FCC website, the computer date and time stamps it. So the commission can look at your public file and say, oh, wow, you were a week late putting that up on the file. So you really got to stay on your toes on that.
I hear you. All right. We're talking to Larry Wilkins. We've been talking about the ABIP, the Alternative Broadcast Inspection Program. It can keep you out of hot water with the FCC. And, it's at least in Alabama, it's a free service. So you just pay shipping and handling for the engineer to show up. And I know, and we talked to Scott Kaysen about this a couple of months ago. And there was a cost in Indiana and Kentucky, but it wasn't high. It was certainly cheaper than getting a fine from the FCC.
Yeah, I didn't mention that, but the FCC's fines are hefty. There's some zeros at the end of the numbers.
Yeah.
And it can mount up in a hurry.
Yeah, and they're before the decimal point comes along.
That's right.
Yeah, I hear you. Larry, we're going to we'll take a quick break, and when Larry comes back, we're going to talk about something that you called SECC, State. What does that stand for? State Emergency what?
State Emergency Communications Committee.
Okay. Yes, and Chris Tarr, who occasionally is my co-host here, Chris Tarr has been involved with that for the state of Wisconsin. I think that Scott Kaysen has been involved in Kentucky, maybe Indiana, and Mike Burrell, who may have been on the show before, has also been involved with that. So that's coming up. Our show this week in Radio Tech is brought to you by a couple more fantastic sponsors. I hope you'll check them out. Angry Audio, and right after that, we're going to hear from Max Connect. We'll be right back.
As broadcast engineers, we spend a lot of our time connecting things together, but sometimes it's just as important to be able to disconnect something. What am I talking about? This is the Angry Audio Disconnector, the disconnector. So here you have something that you just put in series with your headphones, with your Talents headphones. Now, this is available in the 1/4-inch tip ring sleeve size, as you see here. Also available in the 3.5 millimeter size, and you can even mix and match inputs and outputs. The point is, this is what's in the middle. This is the disconnector. So you have a talent that forgets to take their headphones off. They get up, they start to walk away, and boop, look at that. No more damage to the connectors that you normally use. No more damage to the headphone jack on the audio console or under the furniture. Oh, look, it just went back together, and I wasn't even trying. It's magnetic. It's the disconnector, or the headphone disconnector from Angry Audio. Disconnector. No more broken connectors. Check it out on the web at angryaudio.com.
Max Connect does several important things that are great for broadcasters, including Max Connect Wireless. But they have the newest product is this RMT 416. Companies everywhere are occupying smaller physical spaces while needing to rely on automated monitoring and alerting. And hey, publicly traded companies must navigate compliance issues of proving performance of their radio operations. So to meet those needs, Max Connect is partnering with Audio Science to bring you the RMT 416 streaming radio multi-tuner. Ooh, that's a mouthful. The RMT 416 is a single rack unit housing its power supply and network connection. There are 4 slots in the box so that you can put in different tuner cards. Each tuner card has 4 tuners with analog audio for each tuner on an RJ45, again, Studio Hub. And when fully populated with 4 tuner cards, this RMT 416 can host 16 tuners in one rack space. And hey, your options here, AM, FM, weather band, FM, and HD.
It'll even do AM HD. And there's a separate antenna input, of course, for your AM and your FM. So this will stream audio to you. It's got a beautiful web-based control that you can set the levels and control each tuner individually. Of course, you can set presets on all these. And hey, if you're into SNMP for monitoring the things at your station, well, it does that too. You can monitor it and control it with SNMP. It'll tell you about RDS. It'll tell you about audio and, of course, loss of carrier, things like that. So check this thing out. The RMT 416, it's really awesome from Max Connect. You can get in touch with them. Just go to the website, Max Connect. I know it's spelled funny, MAXXKONNECT, maxconnect.com, and look for the RMT 416 multi-tuner. Big thanks to Josh Bone and his staff. They've got some smart people on staff up there at Max Connect.
We're back on This Week in Radio Tech. Merry Christmas to you and happy holidays, however you celebrate. We've got this quiet time where you really don't know what day it is. I'll tell you, today's Christmas Day when we're airing this, but you may be seeing it on some different day. I'm Kirk Harnack coming to you from Pontevedra, Spain, where I'm spending the holidays with my wife's family. And with us here is Larry Wilkins, who's spending his holiday with his lovely wife, and that would be Kathy. Kathy, glad to have you around, Larry.
That you want me around?
You
I would hope so.
Check and see. Are y'all planning on a fine dinner at Waffle House this year?
Well, as a matter of fact, we are the day before. We do every year. We have one particular Waffle House here that we go to a lot because the manager, a lady there, her nickname is D-Boss.
Okay.
Her tag is the same thing. And we always go, usually on Christmas Eve, and we take candy to them and little hats, for them to wear and all this kind of stuff. And she makes those buttons that she makes and all this says Merry Christmas from Waffle House and stuff. But no, she just put a crock pot on a while ago with some jambalaya in it.
Oh.
We ended up getting some. One of the benefits of doing inspections, I did an inspection about a week ago, and the manager come walking in with this box. And he opened it up, and it was just loaded down with Johnson Link sausage.
Oh, wow.
The hot and the Cajun and all this kind of stuff was frozen. He said, "Here, I want you to have this." He said, "They're a big sponsor. They have a big place of a company here that make all those things. He said, take that home and enjoy it." So she just cut it up and put it in there with some whole bunch of vegetables and spices, and we're going to have jambalaya.
Now that's another difference with the FCC because, you can't bribe those guys, but it sounds like ABIP inspectors can receive gifts.
Well, I shouldn't have said that over the air, but no, he was just being nice. And
I know. It happens.
And I did find something he needed corrected, and so I didn't cut him any slack.
Okay. Well, let's talk about the state emergency plan, and you had a word for that, so go ahead and give us the spiel on SECC.
The SECC is it's not new, but it's a new name. It used to just be called the EAS Committee. And it was a committee in each state that sort of helped stations make sure they were monitoring the right people and their equipment was working right. And a few years ago, it was actually changed to SECC, which is the State Emergency Communications Committee. And the committee, the big thing about the committee, you need to have people on there that's involved in the EAS origination and distribution. For instance, in our committee, we have the director of the Emergency Management Association. We have representatives from the governor's office. We have representatives from the National Weather Service and a couple other people that actually are involved in originating any type of EAS alert in the state. And then what we do is look after the distribution system, how we get messages from being originated, how we get it to the other stations. And as part of what we do here in Alabama, well, I'll just give myself a quick plug, give the SECC a plug here. We have a database system where we actually monitor a lot of stations. We monitor almost 200 different EAS units around the state and create a database. and I can see how well information is being disseminated around the state. We're not trying to you know invade people's stations. We're just looking at the data to see, did you get the monthly test? Did you get the test from iPod, or did you send your own weekly test? And if I see a station's been missing it for a couple of weeks, then I'll just drop the engineer a nice email to tell him he needs to take a look at it. Now, they're supposed to be doing that themselves, but this is just another set of eyes that we use, and the committee is responsible for that. The committee is also responsible for creating and maintaining the state plan, which has recently changed. It used to be a paper form plan that every state had their own way of doing it. There was no guidelines to it. You knew what had to be in there, but it was sort of organized differently. About 3 years ago, they put it online, and it's now available, or it's in a governmental secure server, and so the commission can look at it at any time. And it has all the stations listed and who they're monitoring and how we distribute national and state and local alerts. So the committee is in charge of that as well. So that's another one of the hats. I'm the chairman of the state committee, and Frank Giardina, I mentioned earlier, he's a co-chair. And this plan has to be renewed annually. Mm-hmm. So it's time to look at it and make sure it's up to date, and send it up to the commission and make sure or it doesn't go to the commission. It goes, well, it sort of does, but it goes to FEMA and Homeland Security, and they make sure that everything is up to date.
Gotcha. I just noticed online that the FCC has resources for state committees, and they call this the same thing you did, State Emergency Communications Committee. And then, well, there's several resources, including some from the ABA. So in the show notes for this show, I will put links to all of those that I have found. And there's a nice Radio World article about you from about 3 years ago. And that's on there too, where you're explaining a lot of this. I love how you guys, are there other states that actually go check stations' EAS equipment to get a report and to compile and see maybe who's missing or who's having a problem? Anybody else do that?
Yeah, I think we may have been the first one to do that. We actually, it came about sort of embarrassingly to me. I got a call one morning from the governor's office, and the state director of the Emergency Management Agency was in her office, and they said, we ran an Amber Alert last night. I said, yes, ma'am. We have a lady governor. So I said, yes, ma'am, I know that. And she said, can you tell me how many stations successfully got that alert and actually relayed it? Well, I'm glad I was talking to her on the phone, because I probably turned red-faced and scratched my head. And I said, well, I can, but it's going to take me a while to do it, because I've got to contact all the stations. And she said, well, I'd love to have that report as soon as you can get it. Well, when I hung up, I got to thinking, I said, there's got to be a way to do this automatically. So I began to look at the systems that are out there, the SAGE Index and the DASDEX, and discovered there was a way that it can actually send data to an FTP server. Mm-hmm. And so ABA already had an FTP server. So I just went in and created a folder in the root directory, and then at all the stations, and then we were continually add stations as we go along. We add that into the FTP portion of their EAS box. And so every time something happens, when they receive or transmit something, it sends that data to our FTP site. Then we're able to gather that information, purge it out, and create a database. And I can, like on when we run a monthly test, I can actually look and see who got it and who didn't. As a matter of fact, we were actually we have an annual meeting, or used to have annual meetings with the FCC in Atlanta at their regional office, where the ABIP inspectors from Alabama, Georgia, South Carolina, and Tennessee would all meet up there and spend the day and sit in the conference room discussing what we found during the inspection. And it just so happened that it was the day that the monthly test was supposed to be issued for Alabama. And I told the director of the FCC office, I said, today is the day we issued the monthly tests in Alabama. And I said, I'm going to do it from my iPad here. He said, oh, you can do it from your iPad? I said, yeah, the system we have. And I said, when I get through, then I can show you how many people got it. So I sent the test. He said, now, how long is it going to take to gather all the information? I said, as soon as I change screens on my iPad. So I changed screen on the iPad, and here popped up, 200 and something reports. He said, his eyes got really big and said, wow, that's amazing. So I can tell, in just a second or two, because it comes flying in. And and you also hear the audio. If it had the monthly test has audio with it.
Yeah.
So I can actually hear the quality of the audio that they got and see if somebody's having a problem with their receivers and stuff. So I know. So that's what we do here. And I know some other states have been contacting me about how we do it. Tennessee being one. As a matter of fact, Tennessee's already started it, and we're hosting it on our FTP server.
Okay.
Mike got with me, and we're actually hosting there. So,
Excellent. Well, I'd love to see every state do this. I got to have somebody interested, like you are, in making the system work well and being able to produce that. Maybe they need a governor that just asks that question. That's what they need.
Well, and the amazing thing about it, when they ask me, people call me about it, and they say, how much does all this cost? Zero. There's no cost involved at all. I mean, the Sage is there. It already has that software built into it.
Yeah.
Every state association already has an FTP server because that's where they post their PEP spots and the all that stuff. So there's zero cost. It doesn't cost anything.
You're using infrastructure that the stations already have. Everybody's got internet, and your state association already has a server, an FTP server that they're using for things. So, okay.
So there's no cost. The only, if you say, well, the only cost would be if you paid somebody to do it, would be somebody to put the data together. Yeah. And I do that, and I love to do it. It doesn't take. We use some fancy things we found in Word and Excel. We don't have any specific software for it. But there's some fancy features in Excel and Word that parses all that out and creates the database, and I can see real quick like.
I've been amazed at the results I can get by analyzing a spreadsheet by the Chat GPT. I got the detailed call report from my radio stations, all 21 of them, from our phone system. We have a phone system that handles extensions for all the radio stations. And I took, a few days worth of, the detailed call reports, all the ins and outs of the calls, and said, here, ChatGPT, analyze this and tell me if you see anything interesting. And it did. Oh, my goodness. It went through this whole, I could never have gone through that CSV file myself. So that might be an interesting way to help analyze things. But I'm so glad you're doing that. We're talking to Larry Wilkins. Larry, we got one more quickie left. And after this spot, Larry's going to answer a fun question. It has to do with Christmas and what you find under the Christmas tree.
I'll bring you my helper here.
You've been doing this a long time. I've been doing this a while too, but you've been doing this a long time. And I'd be curious as to think about over the decades, what you either have found under the Christmas tree, or about this time, what's been a gift, a present, a something that the station maybe bought that you needed that could have had a bow on it. It would have been even better. But what as an engineer over the years, and maybe I'm comparing and contrasting. Oh, would have liked to have a nice 8-track player back in 1972. Whatever. Let's just talk about gifts under the Christmas tree for engineers and for Larry Wilkins in particular. And we're going to do that in just a minute. Our show this week in Radio Tech is brought to you in part by our good friends at Broadcasters General Store, and they will be happy to write you an order and ship you out a Vox Pro unit. Let's check it out.
Hey, what's happening? St. John here, coming to you from Command Central, and wanted to tell you about the absolute best partner you can have in radio. I'm talking about, boom, Wheatstone's Vox Pro. Now, a lot of folks have used previous versions of Vox Pro, all awesome, but I want to tell you about some of my favorite new features in 7. And for folks who've never used Vox Pro before, I'm about to tell you why it's an absolute game changer and essential for really fast-paced multi-element radio. Lots of different audio software out there. Why Vox Pro? Because it was designed for radio. It's the only software designed to do what we needed to do, which is record, edit, playback in real time. When I say lightning fast, I'm going to show you how fast you can edit stuff up in Vox Pro right now. So literally 3 clicks on the controller, mark left, mark right, everything that gets marked, you hit delete, it goes away. It's literally that fast. So we're going to take this part right here. Boom. From caller 9 to him saying, I'm ready.
Ready for that secret sound.
Boom. All of that stuff, hit delete, it goes away. Here's your edit.
You are tackling secret sound caller 9. I'm ready, St. John.
So one of the best features of version 7, this is awesome. It's effects macros, and you can literally put a chain of effects together so that instead of having to normalize a phone bit and then use noise reduction on it and EQ it and all that, you can literally build a chain. One button, this one's called call right here. I just click that. All of those processes happen instantaneously. Literally saves 80% of your editing and cleanup time. Final thing that I love about Vox Pro, and there's so much more to get into, but one of my favorite things, you can load it on a laptop. I've literally done my show from a hotel room in Armenia to the conference room at, this was fun, jury duty. Great thing, no one could tell the difference. Vox Pro makes it totally easy. Telling you, if you're looking for the best on-air partner, call my friends at Wheatstone, ask them about Vox Pro, and you will be glad you did.
And if you want your price on a Vox Pro, call Broadcasters General Store, BGS. Their website is bgs.cc, and they love to hear from you by phone. Remember that, the phone? You can call them at 622. Wait a minute. It's scrolled off the screen. Suncast, put it back on the screen. 352-622-7700. That's it. I just remembered it. 352-622-7700 for Broadcasters General Store. Check them out. They'll give you the lowest price possible. Love these guys at BGS.
We're back this week in Radio Tech on this Christmas Day, December 25th, 2025. Hi, I'm Kirk Harnack, and just so delighted to be bringing you this show. This is so fun to do. What a great part of my little old career in radio. It's to host a show where we get to talk engineering, and we're talking engineering with one of the fun people in engineering, and that's Larry Wilkins from Alabama. You're in Prattville, right? Where in the heck is Prattville?
It's about 10 miles north of Montgomery, right up the interstate.
Okay. Seems
You
like
can't miss it.
last time I went through Montgomery, I had to take they were doing some road construction. I had to take a detour maybe over a bridge, over a lake, and I don't know, they wanted 10 cents to cross a bridge or something. You know what I'm talking about?
There's 2 toll bridges that to help get some of the traffic into Montgomery and not clog up the interstate. So, and they're private toll bridges, and you have to pay. I don't. I have a sticker on my car, so I just go through it.
Must be nice. I'll give you a call. We can print that sticker out for me next time. And, I stopped in Montgomery, and I don't know much about Montgomery, Alabama. A lot of civil rights things went on there in the 60s, and it's the state capital, and you're around there. But I stopped for gasoline in Montgomery, and I met the nicest man, and we had a wonderful conversation at just some cheap gas station on my way down to Mississippi to Biloxi. And,
right.
That's it. I had a really nice 10 minutes there in Montgomery.
It's really nice. The biggest problem now is the traffic is really it's growing so much, and of course the capital, it's the state capital of Alabama, and there's a lot of state buildings there, and they're expanding, and so the traffic is getting like all big cities. That's one of the problems. But it's a good southern town. It really is.
So, southern town, Christmas time. Maybe you probably don't get snow very often in Montgomery, but let's think about the Christmas tree. And over the years, Larry, what are some of the things that, as an engineer, you would love then, or you would have loved to have had under your Christmas tree? What do you think?
Well, the very first thing that I could think of back when I was really young, I was actually in the high school band. I played trumpet in the band, and we had a little little Dixieland band that we played at little functions around town. And we didn't really, back then we didn't have any way to record stuff or anything. So I got one Christmas morning when I woke up and went in under the tree, there was a nice reel-to-reel tape machine under the tree for me. First one I'd ever had. Man, I recorded stuff on that thing and we used to get the little band out there, and we'd get in the den and shut all the doors and turn on that recorder, and then we could listen back to it. So on a personal note, that was pretty
what
neat.
year do you think that was?
That was probably in the late 50s. I graduated from high school in 61.
Okay.
So it was probably in the late or early, probably late 50s.
Do you remember what kind of reel-to-reel tape machine that was?
No, I don't remember. It was had one knob. You
One
switched
knob,
it to
okay.
play or record. That's all it was.
Were the little 3-inch reels, or were they bigger than that?
Oh, no, they were bigger than that. They were 5-inch or 7-inch, I guess they were.
Yeah.
So.
Wow. Okay. Cool.
I guess from a job standpoint, Montgomery, a lot of people may know they used to have a football game on Christmas Day. It was called the Blue and Gray Classic. Blue and gray has to do with the Confederate War and stuff that way, but they would have and it would be college football stars from around the country, and scouts would come in and all this kind of stuff. And ABC always did the game. And I did a couple of games, radio for visiting networks, radio networks. And one of the games that I did, and of course, the only days it really used to get cold was Christmas Day. And man, you would freeze yourself to death because, stadiums, you don't have windows, or if you do, you open them up to get the ambience. And it was so cold. I remember one day I had some gloves on, but I couldn't mix anything with the gloves on, so I had to take my gloves off. But it was so cold in there. We had a little heater underneath where I was sitting. I could put my foot in the heater, and when the sole of my shoe would start smoking, I could feel some heat on my toes. But that's not part of the story. But anyway, after the game was over, this gentleman, I had seen him around from ABC. He came up there and they said, we come in every day, every year to do this game. And he says, would you love to be the A1 for ABC on this game? I said, excuse me? He said, yeah. He said, we rather get local people so we can give our crews the Christmas Day off. Mm-hmm. Said, we know of your mixing ability, and said, I've been offered, to hire you to do the Blue-Gray game. I said, really? So that was you talk about a neat Christmas present. So I did that for several years. It was really neat.
Wow. What a nice gift that was.
Yeah. They also offered me a job to go over to somewhere over maybe where you are now to do to handle IFB for the Olympics. Mm-hmm. And I didn't really want to go and spend all that time over there. And I had talked to somebody about it when they told me they would like to hire me to go over to maybe was it Germany? I forgot where it was. But anyway, I talked to some guy that had done it, and he said, now I'm going to tell you, you won't understand a word they're saying on those IFB circuits because you got all these different countries. And if you get a patch wrong, you won't know it's wrong because you don't know who it is. So that sort of taught me I probably don't want to go over there. So that was a pretty good Christmas gift for me to be able to do that. And I did a lot of freelancing with them later on with Southeastern Conference. But
yeah.
But I want to anybody that's ever done an A1 on a TV truck, that is something that will almost stress you out because you got to listen to about 6 things at one time.
Yeah. And make sure the right one's going on the air.
Yeah.
And that it sounds good.
you got to listen to the producer, you got to listen to the director, you got to listen to the audio, but it was a lot of fun, and it was and then I later actually ended up handling Auburn radio, and did all of their games for many years, both home and away, and got to go to out to Glenwood and do the national championship when Auburn won the national championship. But went out to Arizona and played in the stadium out there. That was really neat too. So,
wow. Yeah, Larry, before the show, I mentioned something that I thought would be I don't know what position every engineer is in. Speaking for my own self, I've got radio stations to deal with. I've got a full-time job with Telos Alliance. They're great people to deal with, but I deal with them, almost every day, all week long. But we've got voice trackers, people who voice track shows on our radio stations. And some of these people I don't get to talk to very often, or I talk to only when they have, hey, Kirk, my mic's not working. Hey, Kirk, I can't get into the voice tracking system. And, if you got a day, if you got a few hours now here before Christmas and things are kind of ho-hum, you might want to just give some of those people a call. People working from home, I got to believe sometimes they get a little lonely. And maybe they don't feel all that appreciated. If they're doing voice tracking, it can be demanding work. It can be ho-hum work, but if they're doing it well, it can be demanding. Then just give them a call and see how they're doing, and remind them that if they need something in the coming year, if they think they maybe need a new microphone, different headphones, they need some help with, hey, I can't hear myself loud enough, on when I'm doing my voice tracking. I feel like voice trackers could be living a bit of a lonely life. Yeah, give them a call and see how they're doing. That's just me, but speaking for our own voice trackers.
Yeah, that's true. That really is. And as we talked about, you really need to get to be a part of the team. Know all of these people, and not just at Christmas, but know all these people and help them, because they're trying to do a job. And our job as an engineer is to give them the tools to do their job. It's up to us to make sure that it's working right, so that they don't have problems and can do their job seamlessly. So, that's a good thing to do, to tell them Merry Christmas or whatever, or call them. But don't be strangers to them. Just the same thing. I worked, as for a long time in live sound, especially in church arenas. And that's one of the big things that we mention to people when we do seminars for churches, is to become a member of the team, get to know the choir director or the worship leader, whoever it is, and the members of the praise band. They just don't get on the intercom and say, hey, you playing the bass, you need to do this. Hey, know his name. Hey, John, why don't we do this? Be friends with everybody. And that way, if he's doing something wrong, you can sort of get him to change without thinking you just jumping all over him. So, but get to be a team member. You may not, you may not can sing. I can't, and you may not play an instrument. But you're a huge part, and that's the way it is in radio and television. You may not be, good on a news set, reading the news copy or being a DJ, but it's your job to make sure they can do it. So be friends with them and learn what they need. Like you say, ask, do you need anything? I know in doing the football games, we had a guy that was a statistician, and every time that he would leave to go up to the concession stand, where the food was, he'd always stop and ask me, you need anything? You need a Coke? You need a sandwich or anything? It was always like that,
Sure.
Because I couldn't leave my post,
Oh, yeah. Oh, that's good. That's right. Yeah, you couldn't. You had to be there and run those faders.
You got to be right there. Yeah.
Wow. Larry, listen, thank you for joining me on this Christmas
Sure, I
day.
enjoyed it. I really did.
I wish you and Kathy and your friends at the Alabama Broadcasters a really wonderful Christmas.
Yeah, and Earl says Merry Christmas to everybody out there. So.
Oh, man. All right. Well, we got a few days here in Spain, and then the big day here in Spain as big as Christmas is what they call Three Kings Day. I think in a lot of the rest of the world, they call it Epiphany. But here in Spain, they call it Three Kings. They have a parade just 2 blocks from where I am right now, a big Three Kings parade, and they give more gifts.
Oh, can't pass that up.
If you missed out on Christmas, you'll stand by. You may get something on Three Kings Day.
That's right.
All right.
Yeah, I enjoyed it, Kurt. I really did. And
Well, Larry,
I hope everybody out there has a great Merry Christmas.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
And just
Larry,
drink orange juice.
drink orange juice. Larry Wilkins has been our guest on This Week in Radio Tech, and we look forward to seeing you on New Year's Day. I can't tell you who our guest is yet because I don't know, but we're going to see you. We're going to see you on New Year's Day for another great edition of This Week in Radio Tech. We're going to try. Well, I'll tell you what we're going to try to do is get a good prognosticator to think about what's coming up for us in radio engineering in 2026. And it'll all just be guesswork. But hey, maybe some people are in on knowing about this. Big thanks to Suncast for taking this show and making it look good. I switched a few cameras, but Suncast is the professional. We'll see you next week on This Week in Radio Tech. Bye-bye.